Now, I have a little bit of a timeline because I j we read everything. I read everything that the Athletic puts out. I'm, like, looking at certain quotes. I'm trying to figure out, how guys are feeling about certain things. And so I've put together a little, just, a off-season, preseason timeline that could or could not have something to do with what happened between Draymond Green and Jordan Poole. If you were not paying attention, there was a fight at practice yesterday. Everybody has said, at least who have gone on record, uh, has been, Jordan Poole didn't really do anything and he's fine. And so, not really saying it, but saying it that it was kind of Draymond's fault. Draymond apologized to the team today. And let's just kind of break this down. I'm interested in some of the things, and you can interrupt me as I go through this. So, one of the things that we've kind of been interested in is this evolution of Jordan Poole, and we talked about this. I think it was on the last show, where what's the prioritization of getting the contracts done? It's Jordan Poole, and then is it Wiggins, and then is it Draymond, or is it Clay? And so there's like a hierarchy, and it seems pretty clear that Jordan Poole is the highest priority for the Warriors right now. So let's just keep that in mind as we discuss this. Dante DiVincenzo did an interview with Anthony Slater, and he said that when the preseason started, that the first team was kicking the second team's butt in practice, and the second team would not have Jordan Poole on it because Clay is not currently practicing. So Jordan Poole would have been on the first team playing with Steph, Draymond, Looney, and Wiggs, and Dante on the second team. So Draymond and Jordan Poole probably playing together in this scrimmage. When the Warriors were in Japan, and we'll talk about the preseason in a second, Clay joked about humbling Jordan Poole when he and Steph took on Poole and Moody in the three-point shootout in Japan. He joked, Jordan Poole did like a pretend, I still am not really envisioning this correctly, but he did sort of some pretend mock reporter session or something, and then Clay joked, "Oh, he's trying to take y'all's job too." So that was a stiff Heisman by Clay there. On Draymond's podcast, which I believe came out a couple days ago, Draymond said he liked seeing Jordan Poole humbled, and that Jordan Poole was very confident before the shootout, but then he was passive aggressive after losing the three-point shootout to Clay and Steph. As we know, based on last year, Jordan Poole got some guidance from Andre Iguodala. There was the story that I believe is Anthony and Marcus wrote, where they mentioned that Jordan Poole had gotten upset and threw a basketball and hit a monitor or something, and Andre was like, you got to take it out of his check. It's not coming out of everybody's check. And so there was this idea that, Jordan Poole had some tough times, and he needed that vet guidance to sort of help get him through. And we go back to this contract situation, beginning of, I think it was on Media Day, actually. They asked Draymond about his contract situation, and he pretty much said that he didn't think that it would get done. But when they talked about like how he would vision it, is it going to bother him? He said, I think the way a contract situation will weigh on me is totally different than the way it would weigh on a Jordan Poole who has never signed a big contract. So we fast forward to Bob Myers today. Bob Myers said, all punishment is internal, but he specified this piece that he didn't think it was contract related. They thought the beef was a normal practice basketball beef, though there could be frustrations underneath that as to why that could have happened. What did Steph say today? Steph seemed to poo-poo the notion that maybe Poole was feeling himself a little bit and being a distraction or whatever that report was. Steph said, nope, Jordan's been great. Steve Kerr said, nope, Jordan's been great. That's misinformation. And Steph seemed to lean towards Jordan Poole, even like almost like, I don't know if he was disappointed in Dre. I couldn't tell. But when they asked him about the apology, he was like, well, you got to ask everybody else how it landed with them. So who's the person who I look to in this time of need and guidance? It is one Andre Iguodala, and he tweeted last night. I was waiting for this last night. He tweeted and said, "What we not gonna do is talk crazy about my young fella JP. Great character kid. Miss me with all that other BS straight from the source." And he says, "And it's family business with my bro Money Green too." So in this situation, it seems like Andre is, again, similar to Kerr, similar to Steph. No, Jordan's not a problem. Like, Jordan is fine. Jordan's having a great preseason. All of those things being said, do you think this has something to do with the idea that Draymond is not their top priority when it comes to extending his contract? And also that, Jordan Poole is a really good player right now. And, that maybe that big brother, that big bro, tough love, maybe it doesn't land as softly as it did last year before they won the title. What is your take on all the things that are happening here?
Yeah, I mean, I can read all the reports and listen to Steph and Bob and all those guys, and I think they're probably right. Like, I'm sure at the moment it didn't seem like it was anything related to the contract. It was just Draymond got heated in the moment and then took it out on JP. I'm sure JP wasn't completely didn't say nothing, but I don't think he said anything to warrant a punch. But I think it's definitely got to do with, and no matter how much Dre says it, like, I approached this contract having a contract year different than JP might, because JP's never had a big contract. I think Draymond is uh subliminally or deep down processing that Jordan Poole's going to make more money than him.
I think that's a thing. And now I don't think like if you're Draymond, over the course of Draymond's career, he has made a lot of money, more money than Jordan Poole as a vet, as somebody who's been in this league for a while. So it's not that, it is the all of a sudden what Jordan Poole does on a basketball court is more highly valued in the league than what Draymond Green does on a basketball court. And that has nothing to do with winning, right? It has nothing to do with what you've done prior.
Mm-hmm.
It has everything to do with what we expect you to do going forward. And I wonder how much of this is going to be a thing once that cap spikes that we were talking about last week or a couple weeks ago. The idea that the cap is going to go up and all these people are going to start making way more money. And you kind of want to get your opt out like right around the time that the cap goes crazy, or else, you become underpaid in a sense. And this is going to be a bigger thing. I wonder how much of it had to do with the Tyler Hero contract going all the way up to 130. Now, some people say that, at least some stuff that I've read, think that some of that is some things that he would have to get to statistically that he probably won't get to.
It's 4 for 130, but 120 guaranteed. The extra 10 in incentives is
so
MVP, defensive player of the year, first team All NBA.
120 is still
30
higher than what we thought that Jordan, like everyone sort of earmarked Jordan at 100, right? But now all of a sudden it's higher than 120. I'm sure that's what Jordan, the agent, is looking at is whatever the guaranteed money is for Hero, we're better than him. We should make more money than him.
Yeah.
And so all of those things, if you're Draymond and you're just like, all the tough love and all the things that we did for this guy. And Andre was telling us last year, right? Andre was telling us last year, Jordan Poole's going to get paid. Like that seemed to be some of the inspiration for Andre, was to help get this guy paid. And like you said, he's going to get paid more than Draymond. And I think Draymond's probably in like the 26, 27 range right now as far as his yearly. And if it's 4 for 120 or more, that is $30 million a year, and that would be higher than what Draymond. Now, I don't think that this is only about that. I don't think that Draymond is this petty guy, but I do think someone at his competitive level and his value and what he believes he does on the court when it comes to winning, he has to have a high expectation, a high ego. But I don't think that's the only reason that he could possibly get angry. It's probably a bunch of other things. Some of it is this dynamic, right? If you are Jordan Poole, and last year these vets are riding you hard, and this year you come in with being a title winner, you got that one ring, or you're about to get your one ring, and then you're probably kicking butt in practice, right? If before Clay, Draymond, they're kind of teaching you how to play, how to be a pro. And then you come back, and I have no idea what's going on. I just keep hearing Jordan's having a great camp, Jordan's having a great preseason. But if Jordan is balling out, he may not want to take that smack necessarily, right? It may be a little bit more of him giving it. So there's some dynamics at play here. But I just thought it was interesting, like, once this thing happened, I started to think of all of these little quotes that I was reading and how it possibly relates to this scenario. And what I wonder, they said, I think Draymond's going to be back on Saturday. It doesn't look like he's going to be suspended, but they did send him home. And like I said, he did apologize today. But the one who I'm kind of thinking about is Clay, because of that comment where he said he's trying to take my job. Now, as long as Clay plays basketball and is somebody who continues to get buckets, I think just by the seniority of this team, he's probably going to keep starting. But maybe their minutes get a little bit closer to matching up. And I think that, but who knows? Maybe that is in sort of the contract situation here for Jordan. He's like, yeah, I kind of want to start, like I want more minutes. I want to play more. And I don't know if that's in it or not. It could be, could not be. I'm sure everything is on the table when it comes to negotiations. But Clay's the one that I'm kind of worried about, because if it is this thing where, Jordan is coming up and Clay's not practicing or not scrimmaging right now, right? They don't even plan to have him play. There was a tweet by Slater that I'll find in a second here, but that's the other piece of this is I'm kind of wondering, like, what's going on with Clay. It seems like there's definitely like a mental thing that he needs to get over because of how he hurt himself in the past. But for that to happen now seems a little weird to me. I hope that there's no secret injury. I can't imagine that there is, that probably would have come out at some point, but he's not going to play Sunday. And Slater reported today that they're still cautiously easing him back into game action. Like, what do you think about this Clay scenario as it relates to everything?
I mean, when you were saying you were looking forward to seeing what Iguodala had to say, I kind of wanted to hear what Clay had to say. I thought that would have been an interesting take on everything. Like, what is my opinion on what Clay thinks, I guess?
Well, just how does he fit into this whole thing? Because he's like, if he's got this mental frustration over not being able to play, he sees Jordan coming over his shoulder. The less Clay is on the court, who's going to take his spot?
Yeah.
The guy who he's worried about taking his spot.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fair way to look at it. I didn't totally picture in Clay to the scenario, but I mean, I totally get what you're saying there. Is it Draymond sticking up for Clay in a weird way? I don't know. I was gonna more say along the lines of like on trying to understand where Draymond's coming from, if he's been has some pent up stuff inside of him. Like, if you look at like where the league is it values and puts scores people who could put the ball in the basket as their poster child.
Shot
And you look at
creators. Yeah.
shot creator, yeah, people who could put the ball in the bucket, man. And you look at Twitter, and it's always the thing with Draymond with triple single, and like
The backpack.
the backpack. I'm more trying to say that like a lot of people who I feel like don't value the game, but it doesn't help that the league and how you're paid doesn't totally see the value. But like Draymond's probably the second most valuable player in the whole championship run, the whole 4 titles they have. He's probably overall second most important. So it's like, if he's not getting paid to show that he's the second most important, on Twitter you see triple single, you see people making fun of him because he's not scoring. I could see how that can get to you a little bit, regardless of how credentialed you are as an NBA player and as an analyst. It's like I watched the guy, and obviously, when I was playing, that's who I don't know if I tried to model, but that's kind of definitely who was more of my comparison. I'm not an NBA player, but I couldn't really score the basketball, and I was really good at playing defense, and I had a good IQ. So I just always thought I played a little like Draymond. But obviously Draymond, I just think he brings so much value that you can't necessarily see on a stat sheet is what Draymond does, and I feel like that's just not valued in when it comes to who gets paid.
He's also always playing with a chip on his shoulder. That is part of why he is so good. He is looking for reasons to have to prove somebody wrong, right? So maybe it could also be that he's coming into camp. He wants to have an excellent year because he wants to show the Warriors, like, you may value some of the things that you value, but don't forget about me. And he does have the player option. He can opt in at the end of the season and have one more year with the Warriors and then be a free agent next year. Or he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to opt into that player option, and he could be a free agent. So there is also some questions about what his basketball future is going to be like. And, ultimately, I think that I always want to hear what Andre says, just because he looks at it in such a, I think, in such a unique way that I think some people may not think about until he speaks. But ultimately, the guy who really matters is Steph. And so that's why it was very interesting to see Steph kind of come to Jordan Poole's side a little bit. I don't think he's anti-Draymond. I think he loves Draymond probably the most out of everybody, right? Like, that's his guy. And maybe Steph not okaying what Draymond did is the message to Draymond. Steph's not going to down talk Draymond, but by not plus oneing Draymond, that is a way to say, okay, dude, like, that's probably not the right thing to do. And it is also interesting. Everyone comes to Poole's defense, right? Steve Kerr, Steph, like Andre. And so by that notion, it does sound like Draymond was the one who was in the wrong, and at least in their eyes, when it comes
I
to
definitely think
physical
Draymond
basketball
was,
practice.
especially how they responded. And you look at how, it was kind of pictured in the media, the first couple reports, where it was like, Jordan Poole might be acting a little different. This might have to do with salary. Like, then they were just like completely denied that there, and them denying it is kind of taking Jordan Poole's side.
Yeah.
Because because the reports were saying he comes in with a different type of energy now, and then they're saying like, no, he's still the same guy. But
he's a unique cat though, right? Like, he's like his arc or his origin story in the NBA did not start well. Like, there was talk about, gosh, the Warriors missed on this pick, and the guy just figures it out going to the G League and then coming back and being vital at the end of that run where the Warriors lose in the play-in. And then last year, he's taking advantage of Clay not being healthy, and he's the sixth man of the year. I don't really care who won the sixth man. Jordan Poole's sixth man
hero.
of the year. There we go. But man, he just played so well when they needed him to, and he fit in, and he does things in the way that they need him to. And if Steph ever loses a little bit of that, athleticism or ball handling or creative ability, maybe Jordan Poole is the one who can pick that slack up. So, I didn't mean to really tie Clay into this in any way, because he's obviously not involved, but just kind of thinking ahead and thinking about what Clay had said in Japan, I do wonder, like, I wonder if Clay's kind of looking over his shoulder and a
Yeah.
little worried. But, the other thing, if you're Clay, this is both a good and a bad thing. Clay's the second highest paid player on this team, but he's also way overpaid compared to the rest of his teammates. And so if you're looking to cut salary, like his number is like the big one that you draw the circle around, but he's also very beloved. We do not want him to go anywhere, but I
Yeah.
imagine his negotiation will not be as Clay friendly. It may be like, hey dude, like, you got hurt and we were just paying you tons and tons of money. Like we need a little discount here. And
What did
that's
he make? 80 million, like sitting on his couch. Like it was 2 years he missed. And
yeah.
what is he making? Like $40 million a year?
It's like, I think it's over 40.
It's definitely one of the worst contracts in like recent history. Just in terms of like he didn't play for 2 years. So that's 2 years of it that your salary was, kind of capped a little, and he was the reason why.
And they still were able to do it with the salary
Yep.
being what it was. I mean, it speaks a lot to the front office, speaks a lot to Joe Lacob.